Now that you have Unix under your belt, I want to show you two modes for using Python, the interactive mode and the background or batch mode. I've already started up my virtual machine and I've opened up my terminal. Let's start by running Python interactively. If I type Python at the command line, I can get the three little arrows that mean that I'm on the Python command line. And Python works just like a calculator. I can type 2 plus 2. And I'll get 4. If I do 4 times 8, I get 32. And if I do 4 divided by 2, I get 2. And it works much like your handheld calculator does. A couple interesting things to keep in mind. If I do 3 divided by 2, I get that the answer is 1. And that's the reason for that is because Python is interpreting 3 and 2 as integers rather than floating point numbers. So it's telling me that 2 goes into 3 evenly only one time. So if I want to see the actual value of 3 divided by 2, I have to make sure I put a decimal place behind those numbers, and then it gives me the value of 1.5. Python allows you to use numbers in calculations. It also lets you assign variables. For example, if I wanted to compute the gravitational attraction between the Earth and the Moon, I could type in the mass of the Earth, which is 5.97 times 10 to the 24 kilograms. The mass of the Moon is 7.3 times 10 to the 22 kilograms. The distance between them is 3.84 times 10 to the 8th meters. And of course I need the gravitational constant to do this, which is 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11 in MKS units. And if I want to compute the gravity, I can just say that the G times m times little m divided by r squared, and it gives me a value of 1.7 times 10 to the 1.97 times 10 to the 20th. You'll notice that the one operator we haven't used yet is the power of or power to sign, which is 2 asterisks in Python. So that allows me to, then I can change a variable. I can say what's the gravitational attraction between, say, me and the moon. If I go ahead and put in my mass, let's say 70 kilograms, and then I can just use the up arrow to select my sequence of variables again, and it gives me a new value based on just changing the one variable. So it's a powerful calculator and allows you to do interactive calculations. Perhaps more interesting for Python is the batch mode or the background mode, where we can create Python files as programs and run them in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this interactive shell by typing exit 2 parentheses. And I'm going to start a idle session to create a Python file. Let me first start by making a workspace for myself. If I do make directory, then I can say JCA workspace. Someplace I can put my files. I can cd into that directory. And that directory is empty, but I'm going to make a file using idle. And I'm going to call that file gravity.py. And I put the ampersand here because that actually puts the idle editor into the background. That's what that ampersand means, if you remember that from your Unix tutorial. So I can go ahead and hit return, and that's going to call up my program shell for gravity.py. And now I can put in the values that I put in before. I'm going to use my comment key, which is the number sign, to just label this as a simple gravity calculation. Because I want to be a little bit more descriptive, I'm going to use more expressive variable names. So for example, instead of big M for mass of the Earth, I could type out mass of Earth, which makes it much easier to read and lets everybody know what I'm trying to do. That's 5.97 times 10 to the 24th. I can do the same with mass of Moon, which is 7.36 e to the 22. And just to remind myself, I'm going to go up here and put in a comment line saying that the masses are in kilograms. So I can use comments both on a single line or in line with other text. I'm going to put in my gravity constant, which is equal to 6.67 e to the minus 11. And then I'm going to put in my distance between the Earth and Moon is 3.84 e to the 8th. And again, just to remind myself here, I'm going to put these comments in, which tell me that this is going to be in MKS units for my gravity constant, and my distances distance in meters. And now I'm going to calculate the force between these objects by saying force between Earth and Moon is equal to the mass of Earth times the mass of Moon times the gravity constant divided by the distance between the Earth and Moon star 2. Okay, so now this is showing up on more than one line, but I can fix that by coming down here and putting in a backslash and return. And then I can, so that's a continuation character, which lets me have this be a little bit more readable. It keeps it within my screen. So now I've done the calculation here. I just need to print the results, and you can do that in Python by just typing print the name of the variable you're interested, which is force between Earth and Moon. Now I want to save that file. And there are two ways to run this. One is I can just go up to the run option and say run the module. And when I do this, it gives me the result that we got before in the Python shell. Another way to do this is to do this from within my terminal workspace. If I can just type Python and the name of the file I'm interested in, and the result is printed on the line right there. So those are two ways to run Python. One is interactively, and one is in the background. And to get a little bit more experience with that, you can work through the rest of this tutorial, which expands on this example in a little bit more detail. In the next tutorial, we'll start building some programs using some more complicated programming structure.